The following is a production of the University of Minnesota, driven to discover.
Well, hi, this is David Arundale, your host for the Peer Assisted Learning Groups podcast. Thanks for spending some time with us today. This episode introduces us to Osee, who is a MavPASS student leader. He's an immigrant from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. It's a wonderful story of how he was identified by his teachers in secondary school to help other students with their homework. His work as a MavPASS leader is a natural continuation of that role. The conversation ends with Osee's challenge of growing by getting outside his comfort zone and how the MavPASS program helped him to accomplish that. We continue with part 3 of a 6-part series that features the MavPASS program at Minnesota State University at Mankato. MavPASS is their institutional name for Supplemental Instruction. Let's listen in on our conversation. Hi, David Arundale here, and we're interviewing people who are running study groups at colleges across the United States and actually in other countries. This time, we've got a chance to do an interview here with Osee, and I'd just like to ask you to give us about a minute about yourself.
All right, so my name is Osee. I was born and raised in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. I am currently a senior year in my senior year of college. I am studying accounting as a major, and I'm minoring in financial planning.
And what led you to this institution here in the U.S.?
My sister was already here, so it was pretty obvious choice, Instead of just going to a new place, I wanted to go somewhere where I had someone so I can, get familiar to everything easier.
Well, that makes good sense. You're able to join family then. So that's a nice thing. Well, why did you decide to become involved in being a study group leader?
Honestly, it's because I like it. Ever since I was, I would say middle school, I believe so. Middle school. I was always, I was a straight A student, and I was always, the kid you ask question in class if you're not sure about something, and as I just went through my whole high school years, I became, very involved in not teaching but kind of tutoring with the other students. Sometimes the professor for math and physics can give me like the floor whenever we had some, because we in my school we had some days where the only thing we'll do would just be practice problem, no teaching or no learning. So on those days, the professor can choose a student and be like, okay, you can be the leader of today's session. You'll be the one coordinating everything. Seeing if everyone does well and everything. So I really love that. I really like that experience a lot, and I feel like it may be also because I love helping people ever since I was a kid. I love helping people, so I believe this is it because I was already kind of in that role in high school and in my school years, and also because I love helping people.
Well, it's really nice to hear that you got that kind of encouragement at such a young age, and it sounds like this has been really a good fit for you then. Well, what are the college courses or one course that you're currently supporting? And why do you think that course is challenging for many students?
The course I'm currently supporting is Accounting 200, which is Introduction to Financial Accounting. And I believe this course is challenging for students because learning accounting for the first time is pretty much like learning a new language. You need to learn new rules, you need to learn new words, you need to learn new perspectives. So it's super hard, especially for students who didn't have it in high school. I know that some people take, AP classes in high school and they add accounting, but for someone who never had it before, it's super challenging, So yeah, I believe this is the main reason why it's challenging.
Well, that's interesting. I've never taken an accounting course. I'm really fascinated by you describing it as a new language for people to acquire. We were just talking just before before started the recording session, and you were sharing about proficient in 3 languages. Here's another language that you're proficient in, and you're helping other students to do so. Well, what are 2 favorite study session activities that have been really helping students? I realize that things have been very challenging at the time of this recording. We're still fighting COVID, and different schools have different ways that study group sessions are going on. Sometimes they're all online. Sometimes they are now starting to resume being in the same room together. Tell us about a couple of activities that you like to use during your session.
The first activity that I would say is my favorite is called Send a Problem. And that activity is basically I'll put a problem, or I'll put like 3 problems on the board. I'll put each problem on a piece of paper, and then I'll ask either I'll do it individually or as a group. Maybe I'll put students into groups of 2 or 3 people, or maybe if there aren't a lot of people coming to that session, I'll just do it individually. And then you start the problem, and you have a time limit. After 1 minute, you need to pass the problem to the next person or to the next group. And so we roll over, we go around, just like that. After 1 minute, pass the problem, and so on. I feel like this is a great activity because it gives you the experience of doing the work and solving a problem, but at the same time you see, or you have the help of others without actually having the help of others. So this is why I really love that activity. But unfortunately, ever since I started doing it online, I couldn't figure out a way to effectively do that, over Zoom. So I stopped doing that. And now over Zoom, my favorite strategy that I use is definitely summarizing the procedures and steps. And why I do that is just because I noticed that online, whenever we are over Zoom, a lot of students, they're not really there. They can be there, they can have their camera turned on, but they're not really involved, and they're not actually getting the material. Sometimes they'll nod their head, but they won't understand the concept. So just telling them to summarize the procedures and steps that we use after solving a problem. I make sure it's also a way to check for understanding for the students. So I actually make sure that, okay, so they got what I just explained, they got the activity, they understood everything about the activity we just did, everything about the material we just covered. I feel like this is definitely my favorite strategy because of that.
So you think it's really important for them to verbalize in their own words how to be able to solve the problems.
Yeah, definitely.
You also mentioned earlier about how accounting is a new language for many students. Is there anything additionally you do about working on vocabulary during your sessions in order to help them to be better in their accounting course?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, I do. Something that I also do is I use note card. Now over Zoom, I don't use note card, but I'll just either use a flippity. I don't know if you ever heard of flippity manipulatives.
I'm not sure I have, but I imagine probably people who are listening to the podcast probably have. Well, that's a great strategy then. Well, where in the world did you come up with all of these ideas? I realize we all go through training workshops and such. How did you come up with these particular activities?
However, all those places that I get those ideas from are always from a work. What I love about my job is that you cannot run out of ideas about new strategies, new ways to make study sessions fun. What one strategy that I can give an example of is definitely the flippity manipulative that I mentioned before, which was not covered during the original training. However, during our bi-weekly meeting, we always, trying to find new ways to implement new strategies. I'm not sure that that idea or those sites came from a MavPASS leader, or it came from one of the MavPASS coordinators. Once everything went online, we're provided a new set of strategies for Zoom, especially for Zoom, and that's how I really learned a lot about all those strategies that you can implement via Zoom. You can use Flippy, Manipulative, Draw, or Google Documents, and all those ideas.
No, that's really wonderful. As we get ready to finish up our interview here. This has been a great conversation. I just want to kind of turn it back to you. And that is based on your experience as a study guide leader, how have you developed personally and professional? Kind of asking you to reflect about your experience.
When I think about this experience, the main thing that comes to my head is getting out of your comfort zone. This is definitely something that I've done throughout my whole journey as a MavPASS leader. In the beginning, you always comfortable with what you know how to do, which is personally for me, it was breaking down concepts. As I mentioned before, I was already used to tutoring or helping others with some classes in high school and all. It was always within everything that I know, it was always like, okay, I know how to break down concepts, so I'll just break down concepts and then, tell that to students. However, when I started doing this job, I learned a lot and I started to go out of my comfort zone and start to learn new stuff and start to try new strategies for my MavPASS session, for my study group sessions. And that was one of my best experiences because I learned more and more and more as I started to try new stuff. I started to try new strategies. And also another experience that really helped me was observation, which is something that I don't know if other study session or study group organization have. With MavPASS, we do observation. We are required to do at least one observation every semester, which is something super great because you can learn from other leaders. Sometimes you can have the strategy cards, you can have all the strategies in your training manual, but sometimes another leader can have another idea or another perception on how you can specifically tailor a strategy for your course.
Any final words? And I'll let that be you. What would you like to say to your fellow study group leaders at colleges across the world? Because we'll have interviews with people in Australia, Canada, United States, and maybe other countries as well. Any parting words from you?
The parting word for me will be thank you for all the work you're doing. You cannot imagine the tremendous impact you have on students' life around the world. Personally, I've benefited from this program, and I also, participate in the program as a leader. This program helps a lot of students do well, better, and so definitely continue doing what you do, continue learning more about your craft, and getting better. Thank you.